Hello. How is everybody tonight?
Yeah, I'm in a good mood. I'm well rested. Look
Are
out,
ya? Get
YouTube.
some sleep?
Yeah, I did get some sleep. I did. Yeah, I finally did. It's like,
So Dennis Nilson is our topic for tonight.
yeah, it's amazing. I did get some sleep with that, Jay. With that, like, thank you very much. Like, you're trying to, as if I don't sleep well enough. You got to give me that to look like. He's creepy. Like, that's just creepy.
Yeah,
Really, really.
he's a peach, isn't he?
Well, I wouldn't say
Well,
peach. Well, I wouldn't say peach. Like, I
no.
wouldn't come out here on YouTube and say peach for sure, because just even after when they were talking to him and everything, like I don't want to get like ahead of ourselves or anything, but there's just the whole thing, how he did the whole thing is just, there's so much.
So hello to everybody in the chat. How are you?
And the murder minions.
All the murder minions.
Y'all are the reason I could sleep, because there's more than just me out there now. Like, I know there's more of you, so I don't feel like such a
You don't feel like a freak?
I don't. Yeah, well, I know I'm a freak. I own my freak. I know I'm a freak. And forget it. Like, who could contest? Like, who could actually be me and go out there and say I'm not? You know what? I'm gonna own it. I'm a freak. But on the murder minion part, like this part, but then some of these cases though. I'm
gonna have to figure, like, next week. I won't be able to do a show next week. Could do the scheduling. So I'm gonna drop one. I think I'm gonna do finally get the Jack the Ripper one finished.
Oh,
that one uploaded.
That would be so good. Yeah, like, I've been waiting. I didn't want to push you, but I've been waiting for that one.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Omegon went on his ASMR channel for Moisky, and he read the letters again for us.
No.
Well, in my fantasy life, in my head, I figured he did that for me. But still, and I was all happy. I sent them a little note, like, "Yo, thank you." Like, it's like it had nothing to do with me. I know, but in my fantasy life, freak here. But no, I do love the blue ones. Captain Squidward. I do love his blue. His tones. He's got this accent and all. I do like to listen to his ASMR, like his readings anyway of H.P. Lovecraft. He does all the Lovecraft stuff, but he just did the letters again, all of them, like not just the scary one, like all of them, with that voice. It was good, Jay.
Krabby says, I've been binge watching divers doing search and rescue of missing people in cars and trucks. I know, weird. I love those videos.
I hope did they get them out? Like, I like the ones where they get them out.
Those like, and the magnet fishing. For some
reason,
every time those. Yeah, they get a high-powered magnet and they toss it in the river or a lake or something.
And try to pull stuff up.
Pull whatever they pull up.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
I never go looking for them, but when they show up, I'm all, I can't not watch them.
Okay. Well, this is why we're allowed to dab in the chat. You realize that, right? Like, we get to dab in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
And yes, Krabby, I do expect to see that in the morning, unfortunately. Chris has said he's done cut it out, and so yeah.
Oh, what the clip? The clip is now available.
Well, I don't know if it's available, but he said he clipped it. So
Raven, you know who it's available to, right? Like, Raven. Yeah. Yup.
So
good.
Let's get into this.
Yes, Jay. Let's change the subject. So you don't
I'm gonna start with a quote. It says, "I stood there amazed. I found it all hard to believe that I, Des Nilson, had actually done that." That is a quote from Dennis Nilson.
Is that the one? Is that the one that he was when he was talking about when he found the body on the bed? He woke up and the body was dead, and and then he was like, "Well, I guess I did that. I guess I did it."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's creepy. That's what I mean, Jay. Creepy.
Oh, yeah. So Dennis Andrew Des Nilson, aka the Kindly Killer and the Muswell Hill Murderer, was a Scottish necrophiliac who was active in London. He is sometimes called the British Jeffrey Dahmer because of the similarities in their victimology and modus operandi.
Except for, did he actually eat anybody?
I don't think he actually ate anybody. I know
No. So what's this Dahmer? Like, I get
I think
because
it's
of
because
the removing of body parts and things. Like, I
the
get
cutting
that.
up and the storage and things
But
like
the
that.
reason was different, in a way. Like, did you hear the interview, Jay, where he said like the reason that he started cutting them up like that was because he was trying to hide the smell.
Yeah.
Like, and so he was like, he wanted to viscerate all of the soft tissue organs because he figured they would smell the most first.
Yep.
So it wasn't like trophyism or anything. Like, Dahmer put them in jars and displayed them. Like, like, I don't get it. I think they're just, sensational. I don't see the connection, but maybe when you go into it more, I will.
So we're excuse me, to understand Dennis, we got to look at his background. So we're gonna talk about his mom and dad. Well, his family here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So Dennis's father, Olav Magnus Nilson, was a Norwegian soldier who had evacuated to Scotland after the Nazis conquered his home country. During World War II, his mother, a local fisherman's daughter named Elizabeth Duthie White, married Olav in May of 1942 against the opinion of her parents. Together, they had 3 children, 2 sons, Olav Jr. and Dennis, and a daughter named Sylvia. Olav was never interested in starting a family, however, and the couple divorced in 1948. As a result, the paternal role of the children was fulfilled by their maternal grandfather, Andrew. As a child, Nilson was very close to his grandfather and would eagerly wait for him while he was out to sea. On the 31st of October, 1951, a month before Nilson's 6th birthday, White died of a heart attack while he was out fishing on the North Sea. His body was brought home to the family home for burial, and Dennis's mother let him see it, telling him that his grandfather was sleeping. So the loss of his grandfather, plus being able to see the body before the burial, had a profound effect on Nilson's personality. He had become very quiet and reserved, and would shun other adults at attempts to affection. His favorite activity was to travel to the harbor alone and watch the fishing boats as they arrived and departed. During one of these excursions in either 54 or 55, Nilson somehow became submerged in the water and was almost dragged out to sea. He panicked at first, but then ran out of oxygen, and he had a near-death experience which caused him to calm down and believe that his grandfather was coming to get him. He was then pulled out by youngsters. Shortly after this incident, Nilson's mother remarried another man, and the family subsequently moved to the island village of Stryken. They do believe that near-death experience with him is one of the reasons why he would strangle his victims. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Hello, everyone that came in later. Hello, Ma. It is possible, Deborah, that there was some brain damage involved with the lack of oxygen. And that is not uncommon in serial killers. Some type of trauma, brain damage, things like that. So it is quite possible that there was some brain damage involved. So with the onset of puberty, Nilson realized that he wasn't a heterosexual, but he was unsure if he was gay or bisexual because the boys he was attracted to looked suspiciously like his sister. To test his attraction, Nilson once fondled both his sister and brother as they slept, but his brother woke up in the middle of the act. That's messed up.
That's a little weird.
That's a little weird. Since then,
it's a lot weird, but I was being kind. Okay.
Since then, Nilson had been bullied and called a hen, which is a Scottish claim for a girl, by his brother. Nilson decided that he would leave Stryken and join the Army Cadet Force at the age of 14.
He was a chef, right?
As a previous step to sign up for the British Army after finishing high school. His first destination was Osnabrück in the city in West Germany. There, Nilson drank high quantities of alcohol to reduce the shyness and help himself socialize. One time he had passed out and woke up on the floor of an apartment owned by a German friend. Though no sexual activity took place, this incident became a source of Nilson's fantasy about having sex while one of the parties was mostly immobile. He would pretend to be passed out during later drinking sessions and hope that one of his partner made sexual advances on him.
Oh, and so psychopathy begins. Here we go.
In 1967, Nilson was redeployed to Aden, South Yemen, and assigned to Al Mansoura prison. The violence from the pro-independence group led to abductions or ambush murders of several of Nilson's companions. Nilson himself was nearly abducted by a local taxi driver. The man had knocked him unconscious and placed him in the trunk of his car. However, Nilson regained consciousness before reaching their destination. When the abductor opened the trunk with the intention of dragging him out, Nilson attacked him, knocked him on the floor with a jackhandle, beat him till he was unconscious, and left him in his own trunk. So after that, he was granted his own room at the prison and began using a freestanding mirror to simulate sex with a masculine partner. His fantasies became ambiguously necrophiliac after he discovered the painting The Raft of Medusa. I wanted to look that up, and I never did. I want to take a see what that looks like. Huh. I don't know why that would trigger that, but I will share that real quick for you guys. Because I don't understand why this would trigger the necrophiliac part, but there is it is the wrath of the Medusa.
Well, a lot of those people are passed.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know.
Yeah, I said I don't know.
Yeah.
Following brief stays in Britain and Cyprus, he was destined again to Germany, where he hired a prostitute so he could have intercourse with a woman for the first time. He found the experience overrated and depressing, and that's when he concluded that he was indeed homosexual. So we had so. Well, I was trying to if this part was necessary or not, but it kind of is. So, Nilson retired from the army in 1972 and returned to striking, where his mother repeatedly voiced her concerns for his lack of interest in female companionships.
Huh.
How many of us have pretended to be drunk, hoping someone would get on you, or just me?
I don't know. Yeah. Okay, hi, Ma. Okay. Oh boy.
So a few months later, Dennis and his brother attended a group watching of a documentary on male homosexuality. Everyone present spoke of the subject derisively, except for Nilson, who defended gay rights. A fight between Nilson and his brother ensued, and after its conclusion, his brother told their mother that Nilson was homosexual. This led to an estrangement between his mother and his brother. And in December, he left striking for London to join the Metropolitan Police. After graduating from the academy, he began to visit gay clubs and resigned from the force after about a year of service. After a brief stint as a security guard, he settled as a civil servant post at a job center where he rarely interacted with his coworkers and was considered a workaholic. Nilson had several brief sentimental relationships during this period, but they all ended in failure. As a result, he became to believe that he was unfit for a long-term relationship. So, that's a little background.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm
he's
not
warped.
saying...
Yeah, he's
No,
warped.
go ahead, Claire.
He's warped. I mean, there's plenty there for why he got where he got, but the way he just goes for it too, he knew he was a little odd, but
I'm not. The thing with him, other than his incident in the water, I'm not seeing your typical. It's another one that is not your typical serial killer.
No, I disagree. I disagree. He's
Go ahead.
Scottish. He's going against tradition there. He has tendencies since a child. Look at how he's treating his sister and his brother. He's got tendencies there. He feels different. He feels alone. He doesn't even fit in with his family because he's not heterosexual, but he doesn't know it yet. He's asexual at some point. So I have to disagree, Jay. He's already set himself up to be a loner and to investigate things on his own and cross lines, and he's crossing them. It's already there. It's already there. Especially his brother now calling him hen. I mean, you'd have to understand the cultural, like if you're in Ireland or Scotland and your brother's over there calling you a hen every day, this is not good. There's strife. Like this is like he's not fitting in with his friends and his family, and they already are pegging him as the odd one out.
Yeah,
in my opinion, what I'm reading and what I know, like from having brothers with that infliction, and your brother starts calling you Shirley or Sue every day, it's an issue. Okay, it's an issue.
And I can see that.
Okay. So
what I'm talking about though is other than the incident in the water, there's no head trauma. There was no overbearing parent. There was no killing of animals. There was no setting fires, things like that. So it's when looking at his background, you wouldn't say that this gentleman
No, but put him with the big ones. Put him with Dahmer. Put him with Bundy. Put him with all those other ones. Same thing. Very early on, just got that aloneness, the societal separation to where you're on your own and it's all what you think. So now you start your little fantasy life in your head and it's all just what you're going to project. And that's to me, that is key number one to making of a serial killer. For me, that's it. I don't care if he's cutting up little kittens because you know what? I know my brother's not a serial killer and I know he was a stupid boy.
Yeah.
Right. And he did stupid stuff like that. Like he would just, but so like it's to me, it's more that separation. It's that willingness to be away from everybody else and just alone with his thoughts and let them take him wherever he's going to go. Once that starts, that's when the lines start getting crossed more for me anyway.
From what I'm seeing though, is I'm seeing everything, the makeup of a rapist. I'm not seeing a makeup of a serial killer.
Yes, because of the wanting to not move during the act, but
I'm not seeing a killer. I'm not seeing anything other than the mention of the wanting to dance with a dead body, because of the thing.
Resistance. Yeah, total acceptance. See, for me, that's more about total acceptance than resistance.
Yeah, but you usually see that more in a serial rapist and not a serial killer so much.
Exactly.
If I was coming into this case, never heard of Dennis, and this is the first thing I read is what we went over here, I would have not thought he would have been a serial killer. I'd have figured a serial rapist, maybe some type of a serial assaulter. I wouldn't have picked him as a serial killer, especially not to do the things we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, but you see, he never touched the bodies that way until they were dead.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't do it unless you were dead. So, but like, for him, like, absolutely no interaction. He wanted no interaction with the person.
Yeah. Well, I'm also, we're also not seeing any reason for him to mutilate and cut up the bodies or do what he does so much with the bodies afterwards. As we'll find out what he does with some of them. I mean, I understand what you're saying about the no interaction with the body and stuff, but from what we just went over to, there's not a whole lot leaning towards that.
Except for that's what he was in the end. Except for that's what he was in the end. So,
Krabby said, if you guys keep talking in generalities, I'm going to start researching this ahead of time, and you're supposed to be the ones doing the work.
We are. What do you mean generalities? You want me to actually tell you what he did, girl?
All right. So
okay.
Let's talk his first victim.
Okay, she asked for it. Here we go.
So his first victim.
No whining.
Now his first victim was unknown until 2009. They didn't know the name of his first victim or whatnot. Now it doesn't help, but Dennis had thought the gentleman was 17. Turns out he was actually only 14. So Nelson's first victim was a 14-year-old Stephen Holmes, who he encountered at a Cricklewood Arms pub on December 30th, 1978. After Holmes attempted unsuccessfully to buy the alcohol there. Nilson had been drinking heavily and believed that Holmes was around 17. He invited Holmes to his home, and they drank together until he fell asleep. The following morning, Nilson woke up and found Holmes still asleep on his bed. Feeling that Holmes would leave him to spend New Year's Eve alone, Nilson strangled Holmes with a necktie until he was unconscious, then drowned the boy in a bucket of water in the kitchen. Nilson masturbated twice over Holmes' body and then hid it under the floorboards. 8 months later, he built a pyre behind his home and burned the body. In October, he met a student from Hong Kong, Andrew Ho, in another pub and lured him to his apartment with the promise of sex, but Ho escaped when Nilson tried to strangle him. Nilson was questioned about the incident by police, but Ho declined to press charges. Now, here's something we need to talk about with Stephen Holmes is up until 2009, the only information given about Holmes was Nilson's testimony. There was no evidence to the contrary. There was nothing saying who this kid was or anything like that. So for the longest time until 2001, his first victim, they claimed was his actual first victim, is who we're going to talk about next, Kenneth Oakenden.
Yeah, but the police did question him in between because there was an incident with another student, a foreign student, I believe, from China, Hong Kong, something. They did question him, but the student decided not to prosecute. Yeah. He did attempt to strangle somebody else in the meantime.
Yeah, that was Andrew Ho.
Yeah,
a student from Hong Kong. Yep. I do want to address something here. Herb says, Jay, I think you're putting too much on the steps to make a serial killer. They're all different. And that's true.
That's right.
But what I was saying is when you look at what makes a serial killer, probably 90% you can kneel down to the same type of traits. And yes, Dennis does fall out of the traits. That's why I was saying if you first look at this case without knowing what happened, you start reading it, for the first time, it's not reading serial killer. Until you start getting into the victimology part of it and what he did with the victims. So do you want to take Kenneth Oakenden?
Okay, so like the second figure, I only know a little bit about it. He was a Canadian student. I know that. His name was Kenneth Oakenden. It happened on December 3rd, 1979. And actually, this was live sex for Dennis. They were having intercourse when he killed him. He killed him during sex. He strangled him. And he was one of the few murder victims who was reported as a missing person before he was killed. This is a habit of Dennis's, from what I read, that somehow or another everybody was reported missing and Dennis must go find them and kill them. Because they're already missing. So he figures nobody's real, there's already an issue there. I don't know. But this was one of the first ones where he actually had live interaction with this person going on. And this one was confusing for me, Jay, because, he developed a thing. This might be where he decided that he was a necrophilic, like he liked it better if they didn't fight back, that all of his freakdom would occur after the fact then, because this one actually happened during, and I don't know if it was an accident or if it was play or what, because it's not telling me unless you have have further details on it. But
okay, so from what I got, he had strangled Oakenden to death while they were listening to music. I didn't get it why they were actually in the
Murderpedia says it was during sexual intercourse. Okay. Yes, so that means they saw the forensic report. Okay, Murderpedia. Yeah, they go by the facts.
From what I had seen, I didn't see that. That's why I wasn't sure. But from what I got, it said during dancing. But the following morning, he had staged Oakenden's body in a number of suggestive positions, photographed them each time, and watched television with the corpse by his side.
Right.
After he was done, he wrapped it in plastic bags and hid it under the floorboards.
So this was a sex and then date thing for Dennis, right? Like he acted like they were having a date after.
Yeah. Because during the next 2 weeks, he would dig up Oakenden and then rebury his body 4 separate times. Each time after he dug the body up and before he buried it, he would place the body on an armchair where it remained while Nilson drank and watched TV.
This is the thing. This became his thing, Jay. This is where we really see the psychosis, because for him, it was the social interaction with a dead body. Like he was actually having some type of weird relationship with the dead bodies afterwards. He was coming home from work and talking to them, digging them up, putting them in positions all around the place. Like when you look at the interviews that he gave to the police later, he talks a lot about this, about the social interaction that he had with the corpses. Okay. He really felt like they were in relationships. They had friends. They were like, that was it. And that's to me is like, so that's so creepy. Like this is the part that really, really creeps me out. He was all there in that fantasy part of his life. Like he couldn't separate any of that. But at the same time that he is actually moving them around the apartment and talking to them and interacting with them, he's telling them how his day was, he's asking them what they want for dinner. Like the interview is bizarre. Like he's talking about like a real relationship with these corpses. I kid you not, with the corpses. Okay. And at the same time, he's thinking, those guts are going to start stinking. I better start doing something about that. Like, and that to me is like the justice position there about like having a relationship with this body and then God, well, let me just take all the guts out of it first so it smells less. Is like, that totally gets me. Well, he was also thinking ahead about not getting caught. So he wasn't so delusional that he couldn't function. Do you know what I mean? Like he wasn't so crazy that he couldn't take care of himself enough not to get caught.
Deborah Young says, sorry, but imagine the smell. That does come in later.
Yeah, he starts talking about that. He starts talking about like, but and the point, and it was like toys, right, Jay? It's like he took them out like dolls and then put them away every night. Like he took the body out. Yeah. Had a date or whatever. They had dinner. They watched TV together, whatever, with the corpse, and would put it back under the floorboards when he went to bed at night or when he was going to go to work. Like he put it away. Like,
well, this is, away. And that's not something uncommon with necrophiliacs. If you look at Ed Kemper, he did the same thing with the heads of 2 of the girls.
Right.
And
he would just bring them out.
He'd bring them out. Have sex with their skulls and put them away. So yeah. So we're going to move on to his next victim, Martin Duffy. 16-year-old hitchhiker by the name of Martin Duffy. He was first strangled in his sleep and then drowned in the kitchen sink. That's another one. I see that, like I said, that goes back to the incident when he was younger.
Because he keeps drowning them. He keeps going back to it. Something happened that life and death sensation he got during that event. I agree with you. Is a big trigger because he's using it over and over again in his crimes. Like he's somehow reenacting it in a way or trying to show them what it was like. Do you know what I mean? Like
Pickle. Pickle. You think he called them my precious?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't even like. It's bad enough I know what they talked about because he could not stop talking about his relationship with the corpses. Like, oh yeah.
So afterward, Nilson took Duffy's body to the bathroom and bathed with him. He kissed and complimented and masturbated over Duffy's body repeatedly over the 2 following days. When the body became bloated, Nilson hid it in under the floorboards. From there, there's. I don't want to jump too far ahead here with this section here. Okay, we'll move over to this article instead. So because this one jumps straight from Duffy all the way from, which is his 3rd victim, and then jumps all the way to his 13th victim.
Really? Yeah. Well, there's plenty more after that.
There's plenty more. Oh no, yeah. So that was Martin Duffy. The 4th victim was Billy Sutherland, a male prostitute from Scotland. Nilson couldn't remember how he murdered Sutherland. However, it was later revealed that the victim had been strangled by someone using their bare hands.
All right, and then now there are several unidentified ones. 5, 6, and 7. They are not identified by name. Neither is number 8,
Yeah.
9, or 10. They have not identified. This is the problem. With him is that he had the names of some of them, but there's like 8 or 9 victims that they have bodies for that they still don't know who they don't know who they are. That's unfortunate for the families of these missing men.
So the fifth victim was another male prostitute, probably from Thailand or the Philippines. The sixth victim, Nilson could recall very little about it, other than number 6 was a young Irish laborer he met at a bar. Number 7 was described as a starving hippie type he found in a sleeping doorway in Charing Cross. He couldn't recall anything about his 8th victim. 9 and 10 were both young Scottish men picked up in the pubs in Soho. So his 11th victim was a skinhead Nilson had picked up in Piccadilly Cross who had a tattoo around his neck saying "Cut Here." He had boasted to Nilson how tough he was and how he liked to fight. However, once he was drunk, he proved no match for Nilson, who hung his naked torso in the bedroom for 24 hours before burying it under the floorboards.
I don't think he liked him as much. They didn't bond as well as corpses like the other ones. Something he did pissed him off because like he wasn't feeling too kindly to him. He just he was quite disrespectful to that corpse. They didn't get a movie. They didn't get dinner. They didn't get anything. He just got a little bit angry. It might have been the attitude before. Maybe he wanted. It's almost like Dennis was going, "Oh yeah, tough guy. Oh yeah, watch this. Yeah."
always Crable says, "Note to self: get out of the house more and stop having full conversation with my pets."
Yes, I know. This is like, I'm sorry. This one is a bit. I agree. It's a bit much, but it's fascinating.
Miss Cassandra says, "Note to self: stay inside to avoid the crazies."
We don't. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's definitely a lot going on. It was all behind the scenes crazy though stuff. Like you found out what's weird is that he got so animated when he talks about it. Like he was really into this relationship with the dead bodies. Like it was very unsettling during the interviews.
At some point between the murders 6 and 11, in November of 1980, a potential victim of Nilson's woke up while being strangled and was able to fend him off. Although he called the police almost immediately after the attack, no action was taken by the officers who, it is reported, considered the incident to be a domestic disagreement between 2 homosexual lovers.
Didn't want to get involved.
Now, this will be the last victim before Dennis moves. His 12th victim was a man named Malcolm Barlow. He was murdered in September 18th of 81. Nilson had found him in the doorway not far from his own home, took him in and called an ambulance for him. When Barlow was released the next day, he returned to Nilson's home to thank him and was pleased to be invited in for a meal and a few drinks. Later that night, he was murdered. So after moving to a new house in Muswell Hill in 81, Nilson met a student in a bar in Soho and invited him back to his home. The student woke up the next morning with a little recollection of the previous night's events. Later would have went to see the doctor because of some bruising he had appeared around his neck. The doctor revealed that it appeared that the student had been strangled and advised him to go to the police. However, afraid of his sexual orientation being disclosed, the student did not. And then there was another attempted murder where Nilson met a drag queen from a pub in Canban. Nilson was trying to drown him in a bath of cold water and managed to fight off the attacker.
Right. That's his pattern, right? That's his pattern right there. He's going to strangle you and then he's going to drown you in a bucket of water.
So before we move on to victims 13, 14, and 15, one thing we need to talk about is all the victims in this house. What he would do to get rid of the bodies is he would burn them. He would incinerate them and scatter their ashes in the backyard because at the place where he lived, he was the only one that had access to the garden. Right. So when he was caught and he was telling them about them, they were talking about the 3 victims he had in his house that we're going to get into. He was telling them about when asked about if we go to your place you lived before, how many victims would we find there? He said probably 13. And he goes, and then they're like, well, how would we know? He goes, well, if you dig up certain spots in the garden, you'll find, he called them bone ashes.
Right.
And that's what they found. They found multiple pieces of bone and burnt human remains all over the backyard in the garden.
Right. Oh boy, Dennis. And
that was a messed up story too. Herb said that's what Dahmer told the cops about one victim who was just a domestic dispute.
Yeah, it was just like they just had a fight. They just got into a disagreement, so he just had to kill him. Just had to. But what's interesting about some of them is some of these victims he actually had like a date kind of thing with them before. Like the one I think that one might have been prompted by the fact that he found him in a distressed condition and got the ambulance and all for him. The way they started to know each other, maybe he was enticed that way, but that's really weird.
So his next victim was the first victim at the new house. You want to take Malcolm Barlow? No, we did Malcolm. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you mean John Howlett, don't you?
Yeah, John Howlett. Sure. Sorry. Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. As soon as you said that, I'm like, wait a minute. Just cover him.
I can't believe I can keep these people straight with Dennis because this is very distressing for me, but I got it. Okay. So his 13th, from what they know, his 13th murder victim was John Howlett. And he was the first to be murdered, like Jay said, in Nilson's Muswell Hill home. It was in December of 1981. And he was one of the few that was able to fight back, actually. Nilson had taken a disliking to him and was determined that he should die. There was a tremendous struggle in which at one point Howlett even tried to strangle Nilson back. Howlett was eventually drowned, however, after having his head held underwater for more than 5 minutes. Howlett was the first body to be dismembered, and the various body parts were either hidden around the house or flushed down the toilet. And this is going to be the end of how Dennis is going to end up getting caught, right? This is where it starts, Jay. He's no longer, he's not burying them in the yard anymore, like Jay said. He's not burning the bodies and burying the bones. He starts to do dismembering immediately after death and starts flushing certain parts down the toilet.
And he said that when asked why he did it that way, he said because he didn't have a place to bury him or get rid of him like he did at the other house.
Because of he had not figured out a safe place. It was
safe way to get rid of the bodies.
Yep.
There was another potential victim named Carl Stoder. Carl Stoder managed to okay, so 2 months later, the scenario was repeated with Carl Stoder, who slept in a sleeping bag. Stoder awoke to Nilson strangling him and was taken to the bathtub and forcefully immersed. Believing that he had killed Stoder, Nilson placed Stoder on an armchair. However, he realized that Stoder was still alive when his dog, Bleep, jumped over and began to lick Stoder's face. Because Bleep never interacted with the corpses.
He knew it was alive. Yeah.
Nilson decided to resuscitate Stoder and later told him that he had accidentally strangled himself after being stuck in a sleeping bag zipper.
And the fingerprints proved that.
Over the next 2 days, Stoder fell unconscious several times and had flashes of Nilson strangling him and drowning him. Stoder asked Nilson about the memories, but Nilson explained that Stoder would have nightmares whenever he was stuck in the zipper. And that he would place Stoder in cold water to help him recover from the shock. Nilson invited him to stay over again, but Stoder declined.
Good move. Good
job,
move.
Yeah.
Saved your life because you were next. That's it. Yeah, you almost, don't go back. Don't go back. Can you imagine having flashbacks of somebody like strangling you and all this stuff, and you go back there until you figure it out? Like you're trying to figure out what happened and everything. I'm not going back there. I'm not going to listen.
Where are we at here? Let me see if I miss anything here.
It was the sleeping bag, though, Jay. That's what did it.
My mom asked, "Did he have to call the plumber?" We're getting there.
We're getting there. Because the best part of this is how he gets caught. Like the best part of this is for me.
There are 2 victims left. The first one is Graham Allen, who was offered a meal and subsequently strangled while he was eating an omelet.
Yeah, because he was homeless. It was a homeless man this time, right? Like,
yeah, Nilson later claimed that Allen had accidentally choked on it. His body was left in the bathtub for 3 days, and Nilson had to ask for a day off from work so he could dismember the body.
Okay.
How do you write that one down? I need a day off. I've got a dead body in my tub starting to stank. I need to get rid of it.
I was just thinking that, like, how did you put that time in? Request for personal time, disposal of dead body necessary. Like, I don't know. Like, oh man, like I shouldn't laugh. This is terrible. It's not funny at all. It smells. It's not funny.
Miss Cassandra, that's fine. You guys, if you want to sit and talk off topic, that's fine. I would love to go to Mardi Gras myself. So on January 26th of 83, Nilson killed his final victim, Stephen Sinclair, who he had also strangled while they were in the midst of drinking and drug-induced stupor on Nilson's armchair. After killing him, Nilson noticed that Sinclair's wrists were bandaged. He removed them and discovered that Sinclair had tried to kill himself only a few days prior. Nilson then bathed the corpse, applied talcum powder to it, and arranged mirrors around the bed before undressing himself and laying naked next to the dead youth. After several hours, Nilson kissed the body, wished it a good night, and fell asleep alongside it.
Right. Now, Stephen was also missing before. They had already reported him missing before. And Stephen is a heterosexual. Like most of his victims were, besides the ones that he actually had relations with, were heterosexual, missing, homeless, or troubled men, young men. Okay, just so you know, he had type, but so Stephen had issues. He was already pulling away from everybody, his family. This one actually bothers me. Poor Stephen.
The body was subsequently dismembered and parts placed in different bags, with Sinclair's own bandages being used to seal the bags.
Because it meant he's bonding with him over the sadness that Stephen must have felt, the aloneness and everything like that. It's kind of weird. I mean, to me, it's like he's making a big thing about it, Jay. Like he's treating him special. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was definitely something special about Stephen. So now we're going to get into this, what makes this just even a weird case to begin with.
Go ahead, Jay. Talk about how he got caught.
On February 4th of 1983, Nilson complained to real estate agents about the drains being clogged, seemingly unaware that it was the body parts of his own victims that were clogging him. When the plumber, Michael Catron, informed Nilson that he had found the drain packed with fleshy substance and small bones, Nilson joked that someone was just flushing down their Kentucky Fried Chicken. Catron and his supervisor returned the next morning to clear the drain out, but found that someone else had already done it. Suspiciously, they examined the pipes leading to the drain and found more bones and scrapes of flesh in the pipe coming from the top floor of the house, where Nilson resided. After informing police, a pathologist confirmed that the bones were human and that one of the flesh scraps was part of a neck bearing marks typical of ligature strangulation. As the 3 officers waited for Nilson to come home, they noticed the smell of decomposition coming from the front door. Nilson first feigned shock when the officers told him that the blockage was caused by his human remains. But when they told him to tell them the locations of the rest of the body, he led them to one in the closets containing the remains. When asked if there were more, Nilson said that was a long story and he would tell them all at the police station.
That's the part that gets me.
So what had happened was...
I'll tell you later. Come on, let's go get some coffee. Tie me up. Let's get in the investigation room. Let's get in the interrogation room, because boy, have I got a tale to tell you.
After the plumbers left that night, Dennis went down and climbed into the sewers and cleaned out as much of the bodies and disposed of the bodies.
But he couldn't get far enough.
But he couldn't get far enough in to get them all done, and he wasn't aware that there was some stuck in the pipes going up.
Yeah, because you know the pipes also go out to the main unit too, and you can't get to those. Like they go out into the main drainage area. You can only get to the ones in your house unless you go digging up the ground.
So there's an interview out there with the actual plumber. He was talking about what had happened, and he said it
Mhm.
was the weirdest thing. He goes, because the pipes were clean when they returned the
Mhm.
next day, and you only get that if somebody physically goes inside and like hand cleans them themselves. So they knew somebody knew. They knew then that somebody else had come to clean out the pipes, and it was probably whoever did, but they didn't know who it was. It wasn't until they started digging around deeper with the cops and found the things that they determined where it was.
Because remember, the cops were there and they smelt the apartment, and it didn't really smell well.
But and Dennis tried to cover that up with pine fresh car deodorizers. It's like something. It reminds me that the scene from Seven when they walk into the room that's got all the air fresheners hanging.
And it's
from
got all the
ceiling.
air fresheners hanging. Yeah,
That's exactly what it reminded me of.
That's what I pictured in my mind too. It's like,
so now we're digging into Claire's territory now.
Okay.
So
all right, so let's just talk about, first of all, like they did finally arrest him and everything. Not shortly after that, he got arrested. It goes up, he's indicted, whatever. UK law is a little bit different. Things happen a little quicker, especially back then, than they do here. So October 24th, he's brought to trial in Old Bailey. He pleaded diminished responsibility as a defense. Mostly because he was seeking lesser charges under manslaughter, which is kind of the similar as in the United States, which means that he's going to try to say it wasn't his intent to murder them on purpose, like they died during sex or they're into strangulation, so they died. You know what I mean? Like they're going to use some mitigating factor, which, well, they don't tell us exactly which ones because it didn't get that way. But you're usually going to use some mitigating factor that the people died because of something you did, but you didn't actually intend to murder them. Like you didn't put a knife through their heart or something like that. Or you could also get it for like, emotional distress, mental capacity, which was one of the things that they were putting forward, that he could, he was going to be convicted and everything, but he did try a few, maneuvers, so to speak, in that play. But he was convicted of 6 of the murders and 2 attempted murders. The 2 that were tried, the ones that did not die, actually did give some testimony afterwards. They didn't press charges at the time, right, Jay? But now the guy's up for murder, so here they are.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them to come forward, like put the nail in the coffin for this guy. Absolutely, they helped. He was actually sentenced quite quickly. Like this happened October 24th, the trial. On November 4th, he gets sentenced. Okay. He was sentenced to life imprisonment on November 4th of 1983. Okay. He was given, he had some privileges and everything. While he was in prison, though, they came forward under such mitigating circumstances. Number one being he wouldn't give enough details about Stephen and what happened to Stephen for Stephen's family to become his last victim, to become comfortable with play. And there was a lot of outcry about what he was doing with the corpses, about who he was targeting, young gay men or young heterosexual men. He was now being painted in the press and with people as a predator and as something, extremely vile. So there was a little bit of an uprising about that. And then based on the fact of how much glee he got in describing what he did to his victims, they then reversed that 25-year sentence, which was what he got for all of those murders, to life imprisonment, never getting out. Like, forget it, dude. No. Like, no, you need more. They overrid, which they can do in the UK. They can have a separate set of things. They just have to file a motion, and it goes like here in the United States, it would be like a higher court, like going to the superior court, like taking it as high up as you can. And it was pushed, and they did mandate another sentencing on him it was done by the Home Secretary. And they imposed like what they call a whole life tariff, which means he's not ever going to be released. That's what they called it. And then he kept trying to appeal, and so for parole, and he was actually denied further rights to appeal. And in 2006, he was denied any further request for parole to get out at all, everywhere. But back before that, in 1993, he was given permission to give a televised interview from prison. Okay. And part of that interview is a lot of outcry against him 10 years later. That those interviews were, if you guys go and watch them, I got a playlist of things from Shay. One of the interviews was in there. One of the whole interviews is taken down, but there's a 3-minute clip. I got to find it. I just went to play it, and they said it was actually taken down for copyright or something. I guess somebody grabbed the interview from somewhere else, so I have to find another source for it. But I had watched it before it was taken down, and it was quite disturbing. The way he talks about, like, that's why I'm focusing on the relationship part of it. The way he talked about his relationships with the corpses and things. And he does not seem like he is sorry for anything.
Well,
at all. He didn't.
Yeah,
but,
there's Shay says apparently Dennis didn't read the serial killer handbook on how to make soap, clothing, furniture, and dinnerware.
Yes, boil those pots. Yes, in other words, get rid of the smell. But he does talk about why he started to dismember in these interviews. Is when he talks about, like, they ask him, why did you start dismembering? Why did you do that? It wasn't trophies. His trophy was, for him, his thing was the relationship he had with the corpse. Like, that was his thing. It wasn't really trophies or saving anything. His thing was actually trying, when he was doing the dismemberment before he went to the new house, it was all about getting rid of the smell. And then later, when he's doing, the plumbing thing, it's all about getting rid of the parts that are going to smell, put all the soft parts first and everything, and then just cutting it up in pieces and just putting it down the drain and, down the toilet and everything. I wouldn't want to be that plumber for sure.
I find it kind of interesting because he claimed that he had no intention to kill until the moment right before the murder. He also claimed that he ignored the reason. He also claimed that he ignored the reason for the murders, adding that he'd hoped the police would tell him why he did it.
Yeah. Well, let me just tell you some of the things he did while in prison, like, because this was the issue. Like, it's still a little bit of ego there. He was at a maximum security prison in East Reading, Yorkshire. It was called Full Sutton. And during that, he proved to be like a real pain. Like, they did not like having him there because he was really a pain to the authorities. He kept bringing up judicial review proceedings and, like, complaining about everything that they were doing. Because, get this, because the prison wouldn't let the killer of gay of gay individuals have access to gay porn. He filed a complaint against the prison system because he wasn't allowed to watch porn, which you're not allowed to do that in prison. They don't, because there's sex offense, all this, like, dude, like, yeah, he said his individual rights were being violated. And then they once wondered why they're like reversing and putting a life sentence on him. Like, you never, just shut up. You never get out. Like, dude.
Hey, hang on real quick. Claire, there's something dragging back and forth. I don't know if it's on your mic or something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let me just see. Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah, there was just something. I don't know if it was dragging across your mic or what was going on.
It could have been my dog. Can I blame it on my dog? Because my dog is staring at me at the bottom of the bed right now. He might have done something. I don't know what he did, but he's staring at me. But I don't know. I don't know what it was. Nothing moved, but that I saw. But anyway, he couldn't establish that his human rights were being violated by not being able to watch porn. So, like, if you go to jail in England, like, don't try that, okay? But they did, it wasn't discriminatory. He failed to receive any greater access to any kind of porn materials or anything like that while he was there. Also, he tried to put out in 2003 an autobiography titled The History of a Drowning Boy, which they were very offended by, and they refused to give him any permission to publish that book. You need permission to make any money on your crime there, just like you do here in the United States. In some cases, you need permission to be able to publish a book or make any money or funds or anything out like that, and they denied him because it's quite offensive. It's the history of a drowning boy, which actually puts bad light on all the victims. It kind of makes it like a thing, and it was very disrespectful, and I gotta give them credit for that. He did die in prison. He is no longer with us.
They died complications due to his stomach surgery.
Yes, and also like a pulmonary yes, a pulmonary aneurysm, which is like a blood clot, which can happen during surgery. And then he had bleeding at the surgical site in the retroperitoneal hemorrhage, is what actually did him in. So he lost blood. He was bleeding internally, and so he's no longer with us. This strange man.
So
Awful.
I do want to go over because we did find some stuff. This is what I like to look at too, is the psychology stuff. So during the trial, the defense witness, Dr. James McKeith, discussed the various aspects of an unspecified personality disorder from which he believed Nilson suffered from. He had then described how Nilson had always had trouble expressing his feelings, and he'd always fled from relationships that had gone wrong. His maladaptive behaviors had been in place since childhood. He had the ability to separate his mental and behavioral functions to an extraordinary degree, which implied diminished responsibility for what he was doing. The psychiatrist also described Nilson's association between unconscious bodies and sexual arousal. He had also narcissistic and grandiose, with the added hindrance of blackouts from excessive drinking. On a strenuous cross-examination, McKeith was forced to retract his judgment about the diminished responsibility in all the cases. He had said that was for the court to decide. The second psychiatrist for the defense, Dr. Patrick Galloway, diagnosed Nilson with a borderline false sense as if pseudo-normal narcissistic personality disorder. He settled for a false self syndrome, which meant that Nilson had occasionally outbreaks of schizoid disturbances that he managed most of the time to keep at bay. Such a person is most likely to degenerate under circumstances of social isolation. In effect, Nilson was not guilty of malice aforethought. Even the judge had questioned Galloway's obtuse medical jargon, and his testimony had the effect of being over the jury's heads. But the rebuttal psychiatrist was called Dr. Paul Bowden, who had spent 14 hours with Nilson, much more than the doctors from the defense. He had found no evidence for much of the testimony put forth by the other psychiatrists. He thought that Nilson was manipulative. He did see Nilson as a unique case with a mental abnormality, but not a mental disorder. His explanation of the difference was not very clear. During the summing up, in which the case was reduced to the basic elements, the judge instructed the jury that a mind can be evil without being abnormal, thereby dispensing with all of the psychiatric jargon.
Well,
full on. So let me see here.
Even though they discredited his testimony to that light, I do like the fact that he did focus on the social ostracization that Nilson had felt his whole life. Like right what I was talking about before, he was there. That psychiatrist was there. Like that kind of did it.
So, if you listen to the defense, he was unspecified personality disorder with narcissistic personality disorder. If you listen to the prosecution, he just was abnormal in a colloquial sense. He instead manipulative individual capable of forming a relationship, but who had willingly chose to objectify people and had no mental disorder as a result. Which I find it kind of odd because in most serial killers, probably all of the serial killers, if you dive into the psychiatric part of it, they're usually some kind of a diagnosis. I mean, Bundy was a narcissist. There's so many different things, depending on which ones you're talking about, and to come off that for the prosecution basically to say that he was, he was just a normal guy. The only abnormal thing was that he did what he did.
Right. But, and then yet the prosecution is focusing on the other end of it. At the same time, Nilson is trying to say, well, it just happened. He's like, I didn't plan on these killings. Like we were, I went out and I looked for a company or whatever, I'm looking for a relationship. Let's remember that he's focusing on people that are already missing. He's going to bars. He is actually, some of them are heterosexuals. They're not gay like he is. the murder victims. Okay, so the prosecution was focusing on the fact, no, you're targeting people. Like, no, you don't get to say, oh, it just happened. Like, it's part of what's wrong with me, that it just happened. I killed them during this. He was targeting. Like, it to me, it looks like he actually was targeting a certain kind of individual. They all have the same. They're all in the same age group. They're all the same body type. They're all the same. They're all young men with issues or problems. The majority of them are heterosexuals. There's few that he did actually have relationships with before he killed them, and they would have been more homosexual. But he had a type, and he was targeting. I don't think it just happened, like he said. Like, he was trying to convince everybody it just like kind of happened during whatever, like something just take over. But I don't think so. I think he planned the end result. I think, because where did he get most of his fantasy fulfilled was after, regardless of what happened before. His fantasy and his goal was always achieved after. So, like, do believe he planned every single one, and that's why the manslaughter never got moved forward, because the prosecutor said, hell no, man, you definitely went out there and tried to target these people. But he was quite thrilled with everybody knowing that he did it, though. Like, he was very open talking about
it. Here's the thing. I was watching one of the documentaries on him, and he would get upset if the press got anything wrong. Like, if they wrote it happened in April and it happened in May, he would go off the deep end. It wasn't to the point that he wanted to be famous, but he wanted it to be correct. What he did, he wanted it to be known, but you had to get the information correct. And if you didn't get it correct, he got mad.
He did.
He got very upset.
Yeah, he did have permission to write to a lot of people. He did write to a lot of people while he was in prison. He wrote these long letters to himself explaining things, that he would just distribute and things like that. There was a few of those in there. But also, one of the statements he made to the police, he apologized to them that he couldn't remember the names of certain victims or what he had done. He apologized. He said, I'm sorry I don't have all the great details for you on this one or that one. I wish I remembered. I wish I had remembered about that. And that was or the exact number. But he's the one who did tell them about the bodies in the other place. Remember, when they discovered the plumbing issue, they then opened up a cupboard and found 3 heads that he had not been able to get down the toilet. Apparently, he didn't know what to do with them yet.
They only thought there was 3 until they sat down. On it was actually in the car ride back to the precinct, where he said, it's 16.
There's like 15 to 16 of them, but we could talk about that when we get more comfortable back at the station. Yeah, like he's like, let's sit down and have a chat. He did not try to hold any of it back. He didn't really, he was quite willing for them to know everything that he did, if he could remember it all. But they originally only found the 3 heads, in a cupboard. That must have been, interesting.
Yeah, they found one. They found tissues that they had to tissue samples that they had to reconstruct to create the torsos of a couple of the bodies. He said you can find one torso. He goes. They asked him where the rest of the body was. He goes, "Oh, it's in the cupboard." And
it's over there.
And is there anything else? Well, yeah, if you look under the sink, there's some pieces under the sink, and there's some stuff under the bed in the bedroom. It's like he was caught, and he wasn't trying to bullshit his way out. Yeah,
he sent them to his other house.
Yeah, drew him a map.
Drew him a map. Told him where he used to live. Told him where the bodies were buried. Told him under the floor. Told him about the garden. Like he was honest about that part, But I that's why it stuck out to me when he tried that manslaughter thing more, because he wasn't being honest there, and he was like quite honest about everything else. So I'm like, it just didn't sound like it fit.
Dennis was another one of those guys that you would not have expected. They interviewed some of his previous coworkers, and they said he was shy, but you would have never suspected that from him. One guy said, I worked side by side with him for over a year, even went out with him a couple times in social gathering stuff. He goes, yeah, I never thought And that's one of the things with serial killers. They live two different lives. They live their life, and then they live what people would call their normal life.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Krabby says, I still say if you're going to kill people, you should raise hogs.
Yeah, so I just like Shay's too about Carol Baskin. Could have got a meat grinder.
Carol Baskin, left a meat grinder.
Would have made that disposable a little easier. It would have just been sludge. It would have been sludge.
So I'm gonna run down a couple of things here real quick, and then we'll wrap up. So
okay.
Dennis Nilson was known as the kindly killer, the Muswell Hill murderer, Des, or also known as the British Jeffrey Dahmer. And I can I can see that now that we've gone through some other things and looked at some things of how he could be considered the British Jeffrey Dahmer with the way he cut up the people and he did some different things. I still think it's a little bit of a stretch, but okay. He was born in 1945, died in 2018 at the age of 72. His occupation is listed as civil servant. He was a serial killer, necrophile, and a ephebophile. His signature was bathing, dressing, and cohabitating with the bodies before disposing of them. His MO was strangulation, drowning, post-mortem evisceration, and dismemberment. Type of killer is known as what is known as an organized lust killer.
It was lust. They definitely. Yeah. I mean, death dates and everything. But
so it was. He talked about 15, but it was only confirmed for 12, with 6 attempted. But they believe it was 15, but they could only confirm 12.
Right. And exactly, like, why would he lie? Because he's being so honest, and they found evidence for everything else that he said. So they truly believe those other 3 bodies, the other 3 people are out there unidentified. There's 8 of them that they know of that are unidentified, which is distressing for the families. But they know that they are most likely, based on his pattern, people who are missing at the time, young men of a certain age, missing at the time, going through some kind of trouble or emotional trouble, but for some reason separating from their family, friends, or whatever. Because most of the people that the victims all, loners too, like going through something, pulled away, right, Jay? They're either they're in a bar, they're on drugs, or they're missing already. They've already homeless, run away, homeless, just out there on their own. He targeted them,
His span of crimes was from 67 to 83. As we talked, he was charged with 6 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and got life in prison without parole. And like we said, he is deceased now due to surgery complications.
Yeah, it was ended up to be 2 counts of attempted. The second one came forward after the trial started, and they added it in. See? I did my research.
Yeah, you did do. So I think that's everything.
Yep.
One thing we did, he would also shave and put makeup on the bodies too.
Oh, a little bit of
yeah. So there was that part too.
Did he do that with all of them? Or I thought that was just towards the end. No, I thought it was. I thought he did that to the one that he actually had a relationship with before he killed him. The one that they actually the gay gentleman that he actually had a relationship.
I'm not sure. It just says that he had some of the bodies he had shaved and put makeup on, but it didn't specify which ones. So yeah.
Yeah, bizarre. Well, thank you for this horrific romp in death dating. That's I'm gonna name him the death dater. That's
somebody put it up here earlier at a comment about a new dating show.
I know this is
Cannibalistic Connections.
Yeah. Oh God. No, this is the date dater. This is the death dater done in by the plumber. That's Dennis Nilson, which says his caption. Yeah.
Cannibalistic Connections, the new dating site.
No, Pico, don't sign me up. Do not. I'm going to go out there and get a fake boyfriend just so you can't. You're like.
So that was Dennis Nilson. Nilson. It depends on who you talk to. I've heard it pronounced both ways.
All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, Jay. I don't want them. You can keep them.
and Claire's like, this one is now in the garbage bin because we're done with this one.
Done, dusted. I never want to talk about the Death Data again. Because thankfully he didn't disturb my sleep as much as he should have. I have to reevaluate the things that bother me because it didn't. I did get a good night of sleep last night after after doing all that research.
The plumber cracked the case.
he rooted out all the gruesome details. Yes. Yes.
Andrew,
let's give good plumbers a good hand.
Cuanan? No, who's Andrew Cuanan?
I don't know, Herb. Do we want to know? Do we know? Do we really want to know? I need another good night's sleep. Should I wait? Should I wait, Herb?
I don't know. Coming from my dad, that could be.
Then I better wait. Yeah,
it could be kind of messed up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait. I'm writing it down though, Herb. I'm writing it down.
Well, he's considered a spree killer, not a serial killer.
Wait, how do you be a spree? Because you could be a serial killer with 2. So what's a spree? 1.5? 1.75?
I'd have to look back on the FBI thing because it does specify in there. I don't remember the definition. Okay.
I don't either.
A spree killer is according to this, it says a spree killer is a criminal act that involves 2 or more murders or homicides in a short time in multiple locations.
The Versace killer.
Yeah. His victims include Gianni Versace and Chicago real estate developer Lee Miglin.
No. So he's a spree killer because it was just something that triggered him and he just reacted.
Yeah.
And he was specific. That's okay. I get it.
Definitely look at that one. Oh, well,
it could be Herb. Spree would mean he just went on a little fit. That's how I'm looking at it. He went on a murder fit.
Because he killed 5 people. April 27th, April 29th, May 4th, May 9th, and July 15th.
Okay. So I guess, you know what? I'm thinking, let me just guess. With everything you taught me, Jay, and Jay has taught me a lot about how to analyze, gosh, help us, serial killers and what the FBI looks at and everything like that. To me, if they're saying spree killer, okay, they're saying, mind you, wait.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Triggered event that caused him to kill for a specific reason, an amount of people, instead of like a serial killer who just goes and gets victims for a pattern to satisfy a need. This was if it's a spree killer, it's a triggered event, could put him in some kind of mental state, and he's going around and he's targeting specific people. Kind of like those mass shooting people that go around for weeks, just like something triggered him, or like a road rage guy. Remember the road rage guy who would just go out into traffic for like 3 weeks because of this divorce he was going through, and he just would randomly shoot people in their car. Those were spree killers. That's why I'm thinking that's what they mean. Like something triggered him, this killer, and then they went out and they reacted to it for a minimal period of time until they got caught.
Yeah, I'm trying to scan through that document real quick, see if I can't see what the FBI considers.
But let's be clear, a spree killer can be a serial killer because they're going to kill more than 2 people, and it's going to be separate events. See, with this, Versace and the other murder were away from each other, separate events, right? But at the same time, they are linked to the trigger and what he's reacting to and what he's doing, and that's why they just made like a little subtitle for it. You know what I mean? Because the event is not they're considering all the murders into one event, Jay. That's what it is. Like the trigger that's all one long event, no matter how long it took.
Yeah. The FBI states a spree killer is a criminal act involving 2 or more murders or homicides, short time in multiple locations.
Right. But it's as one event, right? Like all of those serial killers, regardless of how long it took them to do it, they're considering it because of the trigger, why he's doing it, is one event. If that makes it any, I know it's confusing.
The U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics defines a spree killing as killing at 2 or more locations with almost no break between the murders.
Right.
So, but she's still worth looking into because what I've just read so far, it's like, I could, we don't just cover serial killers here, so we do other true crime. So I know it's all been serial killers so far, but yeah, definitely Andrew Cunanan, yeah, Gianni Versace, yeah, definitely one worth looking into. So
yeah, it's true crime.
Yeah.
I mean, true. Yeah.
So
definitely got the name down. Thank you, Irv.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that is what we've got for tonight. Do we got anything coming up on Monday, Claire?
We do.
What are you going to not tell me this time?
I'm not.
Are you going to like not tell me?
We'll see.
Or are you going to drop it to me like just before it happens?
How about I'm not telling you either way?
Okay.
That way you'll be surprised no matter what.
So,
whether I drop
Monday,
it, whether I don't drop it,
yeah.
gonna be a challenge. Yep.
So Monday show will have to be a late show because I work till 9.
So that when we're going to do a 10 o'clock show on Monday, I'm scheduling for 10 o'clock. If that's okay with you, Jay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, give you time to unwind a little when you get home.
Yeah.
So we'll be late. We'll be late on YouTube on Monday, but we will be here. And then Jay we don't have a show on Thursday, right?
No show on Thursday.
But y'all get in his DMs and tell him to drop that Ripper because I need me some Jack the Ripper.
I'll work on getting Jack the Ripper done. So like I said, I've got the script done. I just got to look at. I just want to look into the before I done and dusted. I want to look into the female.
Yes,
thoughts
we
behind
have
the
quite
female
a few
part
of them. Yeah,
So,
we have quite a few.
We will look into that, so.
Yes, Krabby Bear's going to drop it like it's a hot there. You should, because while Jay's away, he's not going to be here on Thursday. And this is when we're going to take the channel. So y'all, okay, because I was on Twitter earlier and Jay got canceled, so it's a prime week to just
apparently
take
I was
over.
Canceled,
I'm taking over. I'm just going to take the whole shit over. Raven, you want to help? Like what? It was like.
And yes, her Cunanan did know Gianni Versace.
Yeah, because he actually blamed him for his financial woes.
Yeah, although Versace's family is always denied that they never met.
So it won't.
How dare you?
It won't, Krabby. Yeah, it won't too much. Because we're gonna torture him whether he's here or not. It's like you're all invited to the all you murder minions are invited to the Discord on Thursday while Jay is actually away busy. We will just all plot to take his channel over there in Discord on a voice call, and it's like torture him a little bit, but no.
Okay, I said England's own. I didn't say he was British.
Yes, you did. You said Britain's own. Go read your tweet. That's why you were canceled.
I said England's own, and Jeff was like, England's own. He was Scottish.
You're Scottish. That's right. He was Scottish. You're canceled. You're canceled.
He killed in London.
No, it doesn't matter. You said England's own. You just come on now. Read your own tweet, right, Raven? He canceled himself. Himself.
I will, Krabby. I will email that to you as soon as we're done here. I got to grab it.
I'm sorry. Oh, you did. Okay, yeah. Let me
put the invite in the private chat. I'll copy it and email it to her.
Okay, hold on. Let's do it right now. They are only good. You got to do it right away because they're only good for a short period of time. Hold on, Jay. I got to get there. I'm not like so good with this.
That's all right. Get that done and dusted now so we don't forget.
Yes, we want you there. Absolutely. I didn't know he was trying to keep you out. He's getting canceled the second time. He's canceled. No, but two.
Lord.
One more and the channel is mine. That's 2 in the same day. You better be walking on eggshells for a little bit there. I'm sorry about that, Krabby. There's no way to treat a Krabby Hermit. There's no way to treat a Krabby Hermit. There you go. Totally canceling himself, Raven. I agree. There's the link. Now make sure you get it, Krabby. If not, on my next stream, give him hell. I will help you. Give him hell. Yeah. Okay.
Just emailed it.
I don't believe you canceled, Jay. I'm waiting for confirmation from Krabby.
I will. Well, I was going to show you the email, but I don't want to give away information. So,
you see this thing from Pickle? She said all the murderer minions were just invited to a live torture session. That's meta as fuck. We know how to do it, Pickle. Like we get all the perks. The murder minions get all the good perks. Yeah, way to sell a show, right, Jay? Oh, man, that's funny. Hopefully you got it, Krabby. We need confirmation. We can let them open. Oh, Raven says she's never going to get it.
She will.
Do you know how to wait.
Sure.
Does he have good email skills? Like, does he know how to email?
I do. It's rude. I'm being picked on for something I have no control over. I can't help it if she doesn't click on the email.
Yay, she says she got it. She just pulled you out. All right, so that's not number 3. So he's not officially triple canceled yet. He's only double canceled. He's not triple canceled. But okay. Oh, you better reactivate.
So, join us tomorrow morning.
I love Raven.
She's a brat.
She's the best kind, though. She is the best kind. I could hang with her all day. I'm telling you.
So don't forget to join us tomorrow over on her Hereticals, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Open mic.
It's open mic. We're gonna try it again. We're having fun with them. We invite anybody to join that wants to join. We're trying to get some people with some off the wall ideas, but they never show up when you actually invite them.
Right. So if you have actual questions, you have actual things you want to talk about or questions. In faith and atheism, call
or flat Earth or aliens.
No. Please, if it's flat Earth, like, could you? No, but I mean, I'm sure they would like it. I'm just speaking for myself, not the team, but damn.
I said, you want to talk about, you want to talk faith, you want to talk, serial killers or
you want to talk, well, not the serial killers, but you can come and talk about canceling Jay. I might be able to get you some help there.
So aliens, flat Earth, religion, any question you've got, Raven says you might get to see a dab. I hope not.
Yeah, just like that. Just like that. Just like that. You can all demand dabs. You can all demand dabs from Jay on the regular over there. No.
I ain't doing it again for less than $100. So
well, hey.
So thank you guys for showing up. Look Thursday for the Ripper video. Until next time. Until Monday, or tomorrow, whichever way we see you first. Thank you all. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family, and have yourself a marvelous night.
Yes. Be well, people. Drink coffee, even if Jay don't.
And no, I will never try to floss. There ain't enough money for that one.
What the hell? Is that a dance move too that I don't know about? If you floss, well, quit trying to cancel. That's right. Floss and it's the tape. Look at it. Dabbing and tape. I got to look this up. You're all too cool for me.
I'm out.
You're all too cool for me.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Bye, all.